What's going on? I'm up here, freaking. Call this the best seat in the house right here. And I want to talk about a little something I read in some books. Like back in the bug got me here, box elder, everything. Anyway, back in the day here in Michigan and Canada, the winters were really rough, and there's times like the lake would freeze and times it wouldn't freeze, so you might get stranded for long seasons in desolate places. And there's a lot of spirits and stuff, like when you're under certain environmental stresses, it causes basically a psychosis, man. It's called isolation sickness, and it's not a real sickness. It's a head sickness. Like, it's kind of like psychotic. Like, people can go into a psychotic state, delusion. They can have delusions and become all kinds of like weirded out, and they can do it to themselves because intense stress and isolation, like really like traumatic to a person. Like, you ever seen those cartoons where the two dudes are stuck on the island, and then the other dude looks at the other guy and he starts turning into a chicken? That is example of isolation sickness. Or yeah, but and there's true accounts like of this, where this guy this one dude left his family with this other guy who was like the help servant, and he went into this like, he got all like attracted to this woman, and then like in his head like had this imaginary fucking relationship with her, and then one day he was rejected by her, and he ended up smoking her, and then smoking the kids too, and he buried her in the corner of their house. And then when the people finally got there, they could tell something happened. Something didn't add up. He said the dude fell in the ice, his master or something. Yeah, but anyway, and then the dude is plagued by all these misfortunes as he keeps trying to escape. Like, he kept trying to kill himself and it wouldn't work. He was trying to escape, couldn't get away. And then he gets caught for it, and then is even released for it later, and then ends up getting smoked, supposedly by some Indians over, some Huron Indians, I think. It's an interesting story, but it's an example of this phenomenon of isolation sickness. And I think society is already starting to exhibit signs of isolation sickness. And it's like, this is it's more like segregation right now. It's not just isolation, it's like a segregated isolism, and then people are kind of submitting to the pure pressure, because, like, look, the fear generates this arrested development kind of high school mentality in people. And if you remember back to those times and how cruel and like narcissistic everyone was, and by nature, because when we're young like that, we are narcissists, and still immature, period, because we just ain't had enough time to live. So when you got grown up adults, though, like, look, like, I've seen people throwing fits and tantrums out in public, like, look, like, and then and you catch just a lot of, like, the evil eye is ever present. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just it's hard not to react the way that they're acting towards you. So it's kind of like, it's real easy to get caught up in the negativity and then blast someone for it. Like, but that person isn't really what you're mad at. It's just like the situation. So I can understand. I know how it is, man. When things are stressful and people aren't always their best they can be. They're not their best person, but sometimes they get over it and move on and grow, but then some people just will forever, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. And that lack of accountability is what makes us susceptible to this Milgram experiment, self-isolation, lockdown, home arrest, house arrest mentality, and call your neighbor now. You know what I'm saying? It's like, just comply, comply, comply. You better take your vaccines or you're gonna get whacked. All these falsehoods here, man, and there's discrepancies everywhere, dude. And it's like, look, it's being exaggerated and blown out of freaking proportion. And there's something else going on here. This is a cover for what they're really doing, and not sure exactly what that is at the moment. But the effects of what's going on, the fear, the panic, is what's allowing the abuse. You know what I'm saying? So there's nothing you can really do about it except for accept it in yourself. You know what I'm saying? And that will help steer you away from the isolation syndrome sickness to where you become like a fucking crazy, narcissistic, narcopathic, self-interested freaking and just a taker. And even worse, you're inhospitable, and it's me versus you and dog eat dog survival, Darwinistic freaking it, man. I mean, because all these things are kind of like at play in a way. And when you don't stand up for what's right, it validates these people's abuse. But at least inside your own mind and inside your own soul, know it with your soul, not just your intellectualism. You know what I mean? But, like, oh yeah, this really looks like this is the Revelations event. Like, this is what's really happening. And it's easy to have the cognitive dissonance and just, go to fairy tale land and pretend that it's not happening. But unfortunately, it's pretty freaking serious. I mean, if it's not the four horses of the freaking apocalypse, it's still pretty fucking serious. It's not good, buddy, because it definitely kind of looks like it more and more. But I'm trying to stay in good cheer and in decent spirits, despite the ratchetness of this whole world. The ratchetness, man. I mean, it is just mind-boggling that this is really what it's come to. And but when you look at that, you can kind of laugh at it a little bit, because it's just a big fucking sick joke. And that's freaking the real joke is that it's freaking the joke's on the Joker. You know what I'm saying? Freaking, so that's a short-lived freaking, you get your second to say the last word, but it still doesn't change anything. You know what I'm saying? Except making you look foolish. But that's where we're at right now, man. Don't listen to the freaking these propagandists, man, and the people pushing the fear porn, man. And always use your common sense and overlaid with discernment. You know what I'm saying? Freaking, because it's like this is a spiritual battle we're in. It's not just a physical one. And to be thinking totally physical means you're freaking plugged too deep into the matrix. And you need to detach from that shit just a little bit. Like, back away from it now. Put the phone down and plug into the real freaking, like the animal internet. You know what I'm talking about? But anyway, man, I'm freaking gonna stop this vid before I kill too much memory.